This part of the session will focus on stress. If you wish to achieve a state of comfort, of health, of good health and happiness, you need to first understand what stress is and how it affects our lives. What is stress for you? Is it not having enough money? Is it being overloaded with work? Hans Selye, a psychologist, used the word stress to describe the non-specific response of the body to any demand for change. So, our body's natural reaction in response to physical or emotional challenges can be defined as an individual's capacity to mobilize every resource around us so that the body may react promptly, as fast as it can, and adequately, as properly as it can, to any given situation. If stress lasts too long, the body's resources will be exhausted. So our energy, our strength will be exhausted. And the person may develop harmful or negative forms of stress reactions. Stress is the natural result or comes as a result of our reactions to different situations. Okay? So stress is not a situation. It's a response to certain situations. And the situations can actually be called stressors or stressors as defined by stressful stimulus or situation demanding adaptation. Okay? And stress in itself is the physical or mental response to the challenging or threatening situation. So stress, it's part of life. It's everywhere. It's the guiding force of the universe for us to survive. It's what pushes us to keep surviving second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. If we do not experience stress or our bodies do not feel the stress from the atmospheric pressure, for example, our brains won't instruct our lungs to keep pumping. If there's no stress from the atmosphere, we won't be pushed to keep breathing, to keep taking in oxygen and putting good air in our body and then expelling bad air from our body. So it's normal to be stressed. Stress is a normal reaction. And actually, the absolute lack of stress is not normal. So, in terms of defining stress, there are two types of stress we should be particularly mindful of. And they are the biological stress and the toxic stress. Or as Hans Selye, the psychologist, called the eustress and the distress. So, biological stress refers to the hardwired function of our brain to experience stress. No? In more primitive times, we lived in an eat or be eaten state, right? So imagine cavemen hunting and gathering food. They face dangers every day like saber-tooth tigers, dinosaurs. So we used to live in an eat or be eaten state, and the function of stress was to inform us when threats were present. So through our evolution, throughout the thousands of years, we've kept that instinct to respond to certain threatening situations, feeling stressed. To keep us alive by moving us away from things that may harm us, stress continues to reside within us as a protective function. No? In this way, stress is fundamentally our response to situations we recognize to be threatening or possibly out of our control. So stress is normal, natural, and positive in the sense that it gives us energy, keeps us alive, and allows us to do our work. So if there were no challenges like, for example, the social injustices, so our level of eustress or good stress or biological stress may go up and down a few times a day, depending on what we are exposed to. Okay, so the biological stress or the eustress again is the good stress. It's perfectly normal. It's part of life. It's what keeps us alive and surviving every second, every minute, every day. And it fluctuates from time to time. So again, that was eustress or the good stress. Now let's look at toxic stress or distress or the negative stress. Okay? If the biological stress or the eustress is the normal stress, toxic stress is the abnormal stress. Okay, toxic stress is when our levels of stress goes up too high and or too many times a day for long periods of time, to the extent that does not feel as though your level of stress goes down at all. So this is toxic. During this time, some of our organs are unable to function properly, making us more vulnerable to physical illness. Stress is always accommodated by biological responses. Okay, so it goes the same for toxic stress. So when we are threatened or we experience a situation where it exceeds our ability to cope or adapt with that specific situation or threat, we also experience biological manifestations in the form of increased heartbeat, dilating pupils, shortness of breath, and many others. Okay, so there's biological and toxic stress, or eustress, the good stress, and distress, or the bad stress.